a lot of things that you want to do and a lot of things that you need to do, and it can be hard to balance your schedule and get everything done without overwhelming yourself. We all know this year is going to look a little different, so how do we accomplish what was already hard to begin with? Our drive to accomplish, create, and achieve is something God gave us. Here at HT Youth, we believe that God has a better way to navigate how we work. So this week, HT Youth is going to be having a conversation about what it looks like for God to transform the way that we work. We will talk about how we can set the right goals, focus on things that matter, and how we deal with things that we don't want to do but have to do anyways.
What's up, HT Youth? Welcome to Coffee Talk.
You want to clap? Were you gonna clap?
Oh, we got some vanilla ice latte.
Yeah, and I've got a nice iced coffee that, if you look at it just right, it'll spill all over you. This is my second sweatshirt of the day.
You sound like you're talking about experience over there.
I am. I'm very happy about it.
I feel like 100 duck-sized horses. Just because if it was a horse-sized duck, that'd be way bigger than me. I can't fight that.
How big is a horse? Is it bigger than what I think? How big of a horse?
I mean, you have to jump up to get onto a horse.
And I'm not trying to ride it. I'm just trying to fight it. Like, could I get a duck in a head? Could I get a horse in a headlock? Do ducks have necks? I'm gonna take the duck. I'm gonna take the controversial opinion. Sorry, Reddit. I'm taking the duck. I'm gonna take him out.
We're opposite
That mallard's out here.
So for me, I work full-time at a health insurance agency, so that's 40 hours a week. And then on top of that, I also have a little side hustle of being a health and fitness coach, so I devote time to that, as well as volunteering with HT Youth, and then being a daughter and an aunt to 6 little nieces and nephews.
Do you get to count being a daughter as a job? Because that's awesome.
I mean, I still live with my parents, so I say yes.
I do a lot of stuff. So I get to work with the small group leaders. I don't know if I look. Did we decide if I look at the camera or her? Yeah. So I get to work with a lot of the small group leaders, basically helping to equip them either with questions or ideas or activities or whatever is under the sun, to help lead small groups better and to help lead students better. I also get to help with the next steps. So moving people from accepting Jesus to baptism to serving and to growing and inviting friends and repeating the cycle over and over again. So I get to do a lot of that stuff here, which takes up a lot of my time. And then I also have a side hustle, I guess. It's just another job that I like to do, at a local cafe, which is super fun.
Nice.
Because I don't go a single shift without someone I know walking in there, and that's always super cool. I just have a lot of energy. I drink a lot of coffee. Does that help?
I mean, you work at a cafe,
That definitely helps a lot. I also have this I have a system that changes every couple months because it stops working. But this thing I've been using for the last little bit of time is I organize I get a whole bunch of tasks that I have to do throughout the week or throughout the month or throughout the year or decade or whatever. And I organize it by needs to get done. So I put a bunch of stuff in that one, and then should get done, where it's oh yeah, that definitely should get done, but it's not as important, it's not as pressing as needs to get done. And then under that is would be nice if that got done. And that's all the stuff that it's not pressing, it's not super important, but it'd be nice if I finished that book that I borrowed 6 months ago. That'd be super nice. And then other, and that's just all the other stuff that won't get done. Last priorities.
I think I'm kind of the same way. I feel like I always have a to-do list going, but I start out Sundays, beginning of the week, I go through the things that I need to get accomplished during that week, and I do it by priority of what's the most important and needs to get done first. And then I try to also put a day that I would like it to be done, or it needs to be done by, and then I just go down the list from most important to least important.
Setting due dates, that could really help.
Also trying to incorporate the fun things in there too. So
yeah. Okay.
it could be an important project that I need to get done at work, or knowing that we have HC Youth Wednesday nights. It just depends week to week what's coming up.
Yeah, I think deadlines for sure. So like something that wouldn't normally be like in the needs to get done thing, if it's due tomorrow, all of a sudden that needs to get done.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or if it's like super important to me, like a birthday gift or whatever, like that might not be at like everyone's like needs to get done thing, but if it's for someone who's like super important to me, then like all of a sudden that like ups it a little bit.
Yeah.
From like would be nice to like should definitely get done.
Determining your why is going to help you set up your road to success in reaching these goals, because you could be going along and you have X amount of things you want to accomplish and trying to get that goal, and it's not working out, and you're getting super frustrated, and you're like, I don't know why this isn't working, like I just want to hit this goal. And you need to remember what it is in your heart that wants this goal and like why you started in the first place.
I mean, and that makes sense too with like schooling and stuff. Like it's easy to like forget when you're going to like classes that don't seem like they matter. Like when you're going to English or math or whatever, it's like, oh, cool, but like, why am I doing this again? Like I think it's super easy to forget that why. So constantly like having some kind of way of reminding yourself, whether that's through like having like a little like reminder, or like having your friends remind you, or just like doing activities that remind you of like, oh, this is why I'm in school. I'm in school so I can get into a good college, so I can get like a good job I want, or so I can like further my life, or so I can like learn these things that I care about, like whatever your why is. Even if it's just like because my mom said so, like to like honor your parents, like that kind of thing, like whatever your why is, I think it's super important to like have those like intentional reminders of your why, because otherwise you get lost in the shuffle.
Right. And it's hard to move past when you're stuck in a season where it doesn't seem like you're going anywhere.
Yeah.
Stop and remember that.
Yeah, or where it doesn't seem like it matters.
Right.
Mm-hmm. For me, what helps to remember that I am not what I do. I am not like the tasks that I do. I'm not the like things that like I accomplish. I'm not my accomplishments, right? So like I think again having like those physical reminders, either like having friends in my life, having peers in my life that like will reaffirm me and will remind me like, hey Jake, like that's not your fault. Or even if it is, like that's not who you are. You know what I mean? That's not like it's not your fault. Or even it doesn't define who you are when you
Right.
mess up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In God's eyes and in like the Bible and stuff, it says like he sees us as masterpieces and all that, and that's how he defines us. And he like made everything. He knows us better than anyone else. He knows how many hairs are on your head, even if they're like falling out in the shower. Like he knows who you are. He knows everything about you. And so like I try to have those reminders of like, this is the God of the universe. This is who he says I am. Who am I to like doubt that? Who am I to like rail against that, you know?
Yeah. Going off that, like I say, like I have a list of to-do list of things I want to get accomplished and a due date, and say I don't meet that certain deadline, I'm like, oh man, I'm a failure. But like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm constantly learning. God is constantly teaching me new ways to do things, and you know that's okay too. Like, just because I didn't meet that certain deadline doesn't mean that I'm a failure.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not a justification to like, oh, well God says I'm great, so I don't have to try at all. Like, no, we still try, we still work, we still like do all these things for him. But when we fail, when we mess up, when something goes wrong, when something's like out of our control, it's not us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the glory for all the things we do right, and he doesn't blame us for the stuff that like go wrong.
Yeah, so obviously there are so many fun things that I have to do and all these certain roles that I get to play. But obviously along with that, there's also things that I dread doing or they're not super exciting. And so taking a step back and, you know, make it fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has to get done either way.
Yeah.
You know, blare some music, make a little dance, make a little competition with yourself while you're doing it. Just
Sure.
make it fun, because when it comes down to it, it has to get done either way. And so you get to choose the attitude that you have doing it. And so are you going to do it with a joyful heart, or are you going to be like, oh, I have to do this, let's go. And you know what? When you do it with a joyful heart, like you're doing it for the Lord, and you you're gonna enjoy it so much more.
Yeah.
I think when, like, there's an example of, like, doing the dishes, like.
That was gonna be my example. That's so funny. They're the worst.
I hate doing
They're
dishes
the worst.
so much. But, like, they have to get done, and, like, are you gonna be like, oh man, they're so gross, like, I don't want to touch these, or are you like, you know what? I have to do these dishes, but that means that I have food to eat, and I have a roof over my head, like, I have a place to live, like, I'm so blessed with the Lord has given me. Like, so just taking a step back and, like, changing your attitude a little bit for those mundane tasks that you have.
Yeah, that's really good. That's not the way I always go about it. Usually I just get in like all right, this has to get done. Like less of like I'm so grateful for it, but more like the faster I do this, the like quicker it's done. Like we just gotta bust it out. Like if we let those dishes like sit for like hours, like it'll just get grosser. It'll just get worse. So you might as well just like knock it out right now.
Right.
And then I just plug in my AirPods so no one can talk to me, and I just get it done. And that's usually my like way of doing things that like I'm not about. But like also just reminding myself. I think it goes back to what we were talking about a little bit, but like the idea of like those are the moments that I really need those reminders of like, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why am I here? Why am I like doing this thing that like it's, you know, big picture, this job matters to me, but little picture, like doing the dishes or like setting up chairs, it's like it's easy to like forget in those moments like why I'm doing it, but those are the moments that you need those reminders the most, I think.
Right. I like your idea of knocking it out early, because like if you do that, you're done in 5 minutes. If you keep pushing it and you're like, oh, I have to do those dishes, still have to do those dishes, you're gonna be thinking about that all day long, and it's just gonna make it more dreadful.
Yeah, it's like or like doing like school online, which may or may not pertain to the audience coming in a couple months, but like you can either put off your homework until the last possible second, which I am very guilty of doing for a lot of my like online school career, and every time it was bad. Every time it was not my best work. Or you can just sit down, take some time, knock it out, spend the time you need to spend on it, you know, as opposed to rushing at. All my papers were due at like midnight, and I distinctly remember taking a couple, like more than a couple nights, where it's like, wow, I hit submit at 11:58, like last possible second, you know, and it's just not your best work.
Colossians 3:23-24 says, whatever you do, work at it with your heart as working for the Lord and not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. So I think constantly remembering that, like, yes, you're doing all these things, but like you're not working for other people, you're working for the Lord. And going back to what I was saying, doing with a joyful heart, like He is going to reward you for being joyful and grateful for what you're doing and the attitude that you have while doing these tasks.
Yeah, I think that's what He cares about more, is like He doesn't as much care about what you're doing as like how you're doing it, right? And why you're doing it. Well, I think as far as like my faith, like working in how I work and how I like get things done, I think it like, one, it like motivates me. It like pushes me to do better, because I'm not just working for myself. I'm not just like representing Jake. I'm representing like the church. I'm representing God in like all that I do. So like it makes me want to work harder. It makes me want to go farther and do more, you know? But then more than that, I think it helps me and like protects me a little bit, because it reminds me that I'm not doing it just for me. Like the same thing, I'm not doing it just for me, and I'm not just representing me. And when I screw up, when I mess up, when something goes wrong that's like out of my control, at the end of the day, I can rest in like that knowledge of like, oh, it's not just me. Like God has control over it. You know, His will is being done, and I am more than my accomplishments.
Yeah.
And I think those are all like big reminders. And if I had any advice, I think it would just be like, remember to rest, because I can sometimes get wrapped up in that like every single day, like hustle, work. But like the guy who made the universe took a day off, you know, like it says He rested. Like Jesus says He was walking around like preaching and doing stuff over in Jerusalem like 2,000 years ago. Like how many times does it say like yeah, he was like asleep. You know, he like how like Jesus rested, God rested, and I think they set the example for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my relationship with Jesus has transformed the way I work because I know that my actions show him and the love that he has for me. And so when I do everything with a joyful heart or I'm super motivated all the time, like people are gonna be like, oh, like how does she do this? Like, yeah, that she does a lot, and like some of that stuff really isn't that great, like, but she does it, and she does it like so joyfully. Like I want other people to see like the Lord working through me in those tasks. And I think if I had any advice, it would be just constantly go at it full-heartedly, you know, like we were talking about, like just serve the Lord with everything that you have and with your full heart, and he is going to reward you and get to heaven.
Yeah.
I don't know if Desiree talked a lot more, but she drank way less coffee than Jake. So maybe Jake just talked faster on his segments and he drank that much caffeine.
I finished like more than half of it before we like got
Sweet.
started.
It's about